Hi everyone, in this video I'm doing the big chat with the fellow photographer in Glasgow called Zeno Watson. Unfortunately, the video that we did totally screwed up, as in we recorded about a full 30-minute segment and then I suddenly got a little thing on my computer saying, oh, something's crashed and you haven't saved anything. Nightmare! And that was a real kind of like, oh, really sorry Zeno. Totally ruined that. Can we kind of go over it again in a speeded up fashion? So if some of it seems a little bit disjointed, sorry about that. But just let you know, what we've been doing is we've been talking about the photos on the DJ Alexander website and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things we were saying in response, to, we didn't mention it in the video, but somebody says, Dom, how do you feel about somebody else editing your photos? Both of us were contracted to shoot the photos for the company, and they're not necessarily... it's not like a photography website. If this was a photography website saying Dom Bauer Photography and somebody else had done the editing and the sharpening and colour adjusting which they've done on these photos, I'd be like, hey dude, no. But the fact is we were contracted as photographers for this agency to supply the photos, and it's really up to them as how they want to put them onto their website in both their cropping, their sharpening, their exposures, their colours, and all that kind of stuff. They've also had to do some certain effects where it works better on mobile devices. So the new website that's up, the previous one was fine for on computers, but on phones didn't work so well. This new website is made so it's really much more for tablets, for iPhones, iPods, and all that kind of stuff. So the actual images have had to be tinkered with in both the editing and also the application-wise of putting it onto the actual websites. So if you're asking how do we feel about our photos being edited, they're not really our photos. We were paid to do those shots and we handed them over. It was then the company's photos after that. We both do take a lot of care about how we do the editing of the shots. So the original shots that we sent them, we were happy with. But in terms of some of the shots which you may think, why are those yellow tulips now pink? You may be thinking, I myself, like, was that my photo? I don't ever remember taking pictures of pink tulips. Oh no, there's been a little bit of a change going on there, but that's more kind of to do with the actual website. So here is the conversation with me and Zeno Watson, the photographer and parkour trainer, coach in Glasgow, who knows his stuff, and also actually got more recommendations than myself. So although I recommended him for being the Glasgow photographer, all the kind of agency in Edinburgh were like, we really like his photos more than you, Dom. Dom, can you make your photos more like Zeno? Yeah, fine. So so he did a very good job. If you want to see good photos, which other people like, Zeno is the man to have a look at it. So here's our interview for you to watch. Cheers, bye-bye. Hi everyone, in this video it's the video of me having the interview with Zeno Watson, the photographer who I had do the Glasgow side of the neighbourhood street photography for the property company DJ Alexander's. If you want to see more of Zeno's work, you can see his stuff on zenowatson.com, where you can see his website here. And I've got him over on the Facebook chat going on, and we're going to go over some things which we thought were quite interesting and difficult, and interesting. I've said that already. Interesting and difficult about getting what should be fairly easy photographs of your local streets in your local town. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you all to Zeno. So I've got him over here. Hello, Zeno.
Hi, Dom. Thanks for having me. No
problem, Zeno. So Zeno, you are what would you say? You are a street photographer or a something else type of photographer?
I would say I was a life photographer, Dom.
Cool. Okay, a life photographer. So how does that differ from anything else?
I like to capture all aspects of life. You know, people going about their business, their hobbies. I capture like street photography as well. You know, people going about the streets. I do various batches of street photography.
Cool.
I just like to encapsulate all that as life.
Cool. And I'll just introduce that one. Hi everyone, what's just happened is in this video you're thinking, this is quite a short video. It's not. Zeno and I have actually just been doing a whole about 30 minutes worth of presentation there, and unfortunately the screen flow just crashed and didn't let us record everything that we've just been saying. So in other words, what we've been saying is that Zeno had totally owned Glasgow. He said he's having to use all his tricks in all the tricks in the book to get the shots of the local areas to kind of really help sell and promote the areas. Because what we found so difficult was that at the time that we were given this stuff was winter time. It was cold, it was wet, it was rainy, and windy as well. And so many times we'd be going out, we'd be having a nightmare trying to find locations which were not covered in litter or having loads of bins, or just loads of kind of street rubbish or construction work going on in both Edinburgh and the Glasgow areas. Zeno, you were just finishing there about something, saying you're having to use all the tricks or all the tools in your book. Like, so what we're saying is that you think this is street photography. This should be a piece of cake going around taking pictures of local areas. It shouldn't be that difficult. But Zeno, you were saying that you actually need all the tools in your photography kind of handbag.
I don't know about the handbag, Dom. Maybe a rucksack, but yeah, that's in order to make less desirable things more appealing, or just the area, as you said, covered in bins and signs and various distractions. You had to use everything from nighttime, long exposures, up first thing, getting the golden light, the magical hours, just to make something look more prettier, more inviting. The biggest problem was bare trees, and it's amazing how an area in the summer, how different it is. How appealing it is in the summer when the trees are green, the grass is full, and people are about smiling. Whereas we had a winter and everybody's got their jackets and crunched over in the rain. You know the area well, and you think this area is a beautiful area, but look what I've got here. So yeah, you had to pull all the tricks out of the book just to make the area just a bit more desirable.
Cool. And the bit that we also just missed, what was the camera gear that you were using for shooting all the shots in Glasgow?
I used the Canon 5D Mark II. The three lenses I used was the Sigma 35 1.4 art lens, the Canon 17-40 f4, and the Canon 70-200 f2.8 Mark II.
Cool. And editing-wise, were you using any HDR work, or was it just all Lightroom?
I would boost the shadows in Lightroom just a touch. I'm a strong believer in sort of being subtle with my editing. I did slightly warm my pictures just because it was so cold and grey and blue. So I would add a bit of warmth to my photographs.
And you are in Glasgow as part of one of the parkour trainers of the Glasgow parkour groups. Do you find that you're bringing photography and parkour together has helped you in this project in any way?
Yes, both disciplines have kind of bled into each other. I managed to know a lot of areas because I go about doing parkour.
Oh, do you get special access, or are you able to climb onto buildings in certain ways and get certain angles?
There's a bit of that. There is an amazing thing about parkour where you can go into some of the most roughest of areas, and just not fear about getting attacked, because there is a sort of mutual respect when people from that area will see you doing something, but because it's very physical, they connect to it, and they're interested, rather than what you're doing here, who are you,
Especially also being an adult as well, and doing it. So if you're 16, they think, oh, what are you doing, you little shit? But as an adult, they're like, oh, it's an adult climbing over walls and stuff, and he doesn't look like he's a total thug. Brilliant. Okay, he's obviously doing something
That
interesting.
really confuses them. That's when sometimes I'll jump down and I'll do a few push-ups. So, oh, that's an exercise, right?
Yeah. I'm not running away from the police if I'm doing
confused.
push-ups. So in terms of difficulty in Glasgow, in the bit which you guys haven't seen, we're just talking about how the winds and wind make a nightmare. Also the weather. We were doing it from January to January, February, March, kind of a little bit of April as well. So although it was a fairly simple project, go get nice shots of the local area, it ended up being quite a long project to get the right kind of lighting and all the locations. We're seeing in Edinburgh I had about 21 areas to do, and in Glasgow there's good about 13 areas as well to shoot. And we tried to get as many blue skies in there as possible. I would say Zeno actually did some more creative stuff than myself. Most of mine are just kind of locations, sunny and bright. Zeno's done some nighttime shots, some long exposures, some light trails, certainly in the Merchant City. What I've also noticed is that they haven't used all my photos. In total, I handed in around about 250, 300 photos. But in some areas, I've only used 1 or 2 photos. It may be the case that they're going to add more to the website, or it's a constantly evolving thing. Have you noticed that they haven't used all the photos, or there's some shots you're going...
Exactly the same.
Yeah. Is there any shots you're thinking, damn, I wish they had used this?
Yes.
And also in Glasgow, would you say there's any particular difficulties related to it just being Glasgow compared to Edinburgh, do you think?
Good question.
Because in Edinburgh, the biggest difficulty here is lots of tourists and other people with cameras during the daytime.
That's the first thing that comes to mind, Edinburgh.
Yeah. And the other thing is, again, with so many areas in Edinburgh which are so iconic or so like, oh, there's a castle, there's a monument, there's a awesome thing, that I found that the suburbs where they were just kind of local areas, incredibly difficult to kind of go, what am I actually taking a photo of here to get the feel of this neighbourhood? It's just some houses, it's not anything interesting. Was there anything like that in Glasgow that you found it really difficult to kind of either get in or avoid?
To answer both those questions, Glasgow, because of the Commonwealth Games, was getting spruced up, so there was a lot of roadworks going on as well, which made my life very difficult. There were several areas where I had to go back 2, 3, maybe 4 times. I had to do that because I came back, just wasn't happy with the photos. I went back again. There was areas I waited for the roadworks to finish, and then I went in. To answer your other question what was your other question? Sorry, your last question.
The difficulty of how there's some areas which are so awesome that when you go to the smaller suburb areas, you're like, what the heck?
The couple of tricks that I did with the suburbs was first thing in the morning just to get the beautiful light, but also I walked round and through many streets and just tried to capture the architecture of that area that defines that area. I would look and say, oh, there's those kind of style of houses again. Therefore, I'll capture that because that kind of encapsulates that area. If you go to the area, you recognise, the architecture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that to me was like a kind of landmark, just the style of that area.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've seen any sort of really nice, big mansion houses, just beautiful craftsmanship, I would photograph that as well.
Cool.
So that's what I would do in the suburb areas.
Okay.
Just capture the houses. There's lots of areas that just seem to have those kind of houses. So I would capture that, just that kind of house.
Got it.
Because that encapsulates, for me, that encapsulates that area.
Cool. And one of the other things I thought which was quite difficult was how sometimes you would get a nice area, a nice place with maybe people sitting outside, but it wouldn't be the right type of people. Or because there's a bit which I've got which they haven't added the photos in. It was just a kind of little cafe out in Marchmont, very studenty area. But then the people that were there sitting outside, massive sandwich dribbling out their mouth and all that kind of stuff. You go, yeah, it's a place where you can sit outside, but damn, they don't look right. And I see you've got a shot at Bear's Den, and it's a top shot here, and it's a cafe again with seats outside, but nobody sitting there. Was that a case of like you got there before there was any customers, or was that a case of waiting until everyone had buggered off because they're all not in the right positions?
It was just purely time of year, Dom.
Of course.
And again, if it was early in the morning, then it could be that as well. But it's just it was cold, and again in the summer, these places are jumping. You know, they're very busy. And we're talking about historical shots. I use in the town, in the city centre, and it's I think it's Café Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was all empty seats. But in the summer, I used the summer photo. And and it's bustling, and that's the way it normally is. But yeah, it's just the time of the year, Dom. It was just it's just so difficult. It's an area you probably recognise. They're vibrant. You know that there's a good buzz about the area, and you that's what you want to try and promote. It's so hard just because of the time of the year. It's a bit frustrating as a photographer, knowing in your head that it's not normally like this, but this is all I've got to play with.
Cool. So to kind of wrap this up, is there anything that you would say which you've learnt from this, or anything that you would, that you've taken from this, or that if somebody were to ask you to do this again, you'd be going, different budget, different timescale?
Yeah, I underestimated my budget because, as I said, I went back 2 or 3 times. The weather, it was getting stressful because it was getting near the deadline. But you know it's yourself, it was just raining. It was constantly raining. And there was some shots I was thinking, how could I maybe turn that to my advantage again? Sort of digging into your box or tricks. And I did think Merchant City, the cobbled streets, the wet cobbles. So that was my mind. So I got a nice black and white. But then, because I used the long exposure in the car, I decided to keep that colour. But it was very hard just because of the time of the year. How would you feel doing this exact project now in the summer?
So much easier.
Yeah.
If they asked me to do it in the summer, you've got much longer days. That's the other thing in Scotland is in our winter time, the sun only comes up around about 10 o'clock in the morning and then goes down by about 4 o'clock in the evening. Yeah. So
that was another thing. Didn't have much light to play with.
And a lot of the time, a lot of the places were, I don't know if we've caught it in this video, but what we were saying is that the wind would be blowing rubbish everywhere, and then on the days that it were good, it would usually be the day after there'd been rain, wind, and litter blowing everywhere. And what we're saying is that in Scotland, if you go to any of our cities, you may think, oh my god, the litter here is terrible. It's not because people are actually actively littering, actively dropping stuff on the ground. It's the fact people will be putting it into the recycling bins. They're blue, they're red, they're compost and all that kind of stuff, but the wind will just be blowing it down the street, and it'll be getting stuck in the fences and the railings in the streets, and it doesn't necessarily portray a great image of the location, especially if you're kind of going, it's sunny, must go out, get a low down action shot from the street up, and you just go, it's just litter everywhere. So what I do always think is, like, whenever it is there is no litter, I'm thinking our street cleaners have done a great job today. But certainly if it was a case of doing it in the summertime, you've got so much more light to play with, so much longer to play with. More people are out and about, and as you're saying, not in their rain jackets and scarves and looking cold and wet.
Yeah, their posture's just a lot better. Their emotions are happy. It's just a different feeling.
And events are happening as well. So like in Edinburgh, you've got the festival. In Glasgow, you've got the Jazz Festival in Glasgow, is it?
Oh yeah, Merchant City, Gibson Street Gala, Mela. There's lots of festivals in Glasgow.
Yeah.
That's been the sort of prime time to shoot all these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really shows off what the city is like in the summer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so ideally, I would have loved to have shot this in the summer.
Cool.
You know,
Cool.
love to have done that. But that's a challenge, and I have learned. You know, it's been slightly satisfying in a way that, God, I've not done that technique in a long time, or you know, you look at some scenes and you think this is just a black and white scene, or this is a colour scene, you know.
Mm.
So it was calling on your arsenal of techniques, you know. As a photographer, you know, that's a lot of people call themselves photographers because they've got cameras, but you know, it's more than that. It's knowledge, experience, you know,
And effort.
it is effort and just, you know, the place of interest or the subject of interest has to stand out. You know, it shouldn't be surrounded with distractions, and you know, and photographers, when they're looking through the viewfinder, you know, they're seeing these things or doing their best to try and eliminate, you know, so and make it aesthetically pleasing, and you know, it's just a lot of people think, you know, photographers, you got a camera, you know, anyone can take that picture, but there's just a lot of work behind it and a lot of thought. You know, we make it look easy, and you know, that sometimes can go against us.
Yeah, and sometimes I think a lot of people say, "Oh, I could have got that photo." You go, "You absolutely could have." However, as a project, trying to get 50 photos like this, which are all good and all convey the same sense and the same atmosphere and the same kind of mood.
Yeah, very coherent. You want it to...
Yeah. It's not a case of, I could have captured that photo. I'm sure you could, because like for me in Edinburgh, there's quite a few Facebook groups of like Edinburgh photography or beautiful Edinburgh, and there's amazing photos done by people on that. And I'm looking at it going, oh, what a shot, that's amazing. But at the same time, I think I couldn't go there, get that shot and bring that into the project because that's a completely different style of photo, it's different look, it's different feel. So there is a kind of case of like, sometimes a great photo doesn't necessarily go with a different project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know this yourself, there's landmarks that have been photographed, you know, millions of times, and you sometimes want to try and put your angle on it, you know, trying to make it just that slightly more, be a bit more interesting or different. But that is very hard, you know, because it's all been done before.
Yeah, exactly. Just not copying other people's shots.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, what we'll do, we'll finish off there. Is there any kind of final comments that you'd want to say about this project that we've had, or anything that you're planning on doing in the future?
I would like to thank you, Dom, for recommending me. I really appreciate that.
No problems.
And thanks to Rob for allowing me full sort of creative. You know, he gave me the full creativity. He never put any restrictions, so that allowed me to, you know, work to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, it was stressful enough, you know, dealing with the project, the weather, and all the things we've talked about. So I thank Rob as well for just letting me, you know, trusting me with the creativity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'd just love to do it again, but I'd love to do it in the summertime.
Yeah, absolutely. You know. If they come back with a budget of saying, okay, we need double the photos again, can you get them now? I'd be like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, summertime, I'll get you loads of photos. Just don't ask me to do it in the middle of winter when we have the most... What was it? We had the wettest January ever or something. And it's not like, in some cases I was thinking, oh, we could get great, beautiful snowy shots. It wasn't even snowy. It was just wet.
Wet, dull, very windy. You know, just,
massively.
I mean, I think we had something like 2 weeks of dry weather if you add it all up over, 4 months?
Yeah, exactly.
It was just the wettest. You know, we were sending messages to each other saying, oh, it's raining again.
Yeah, when will this rain stop?
But Rob is very patient. You know, I would communicate with him saying, look, please trust me. You know, I'm doing my best here. It's just the weather's, and he was very understanding.
Yeah.
You know, the deadline was looming, and it was a pressure, but again, that's part of being a photographer. You've got to work under that pressure and provide the results, you know.
Easier in a studio, more difficult when you're dealing with Mother Nature outside.
Oh, there's pros and cons of everything.
Indeed, indeed.
That's life.
Sure is, sure is. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much, Zeno. I'll just close up here, everyone. So, everyone, that's my interview with Zeno Watson. Again, if you want to see more of his stuff, he's also a free runner, parkour trainer, coach over in Glasgow. He's not been doing it for the last year because he's had his little daughter, and she's now is she a whole year old now?
She's about a year old next month.
A year old next month.
Taking time off just to watch her growing and those magical moments. I've been lucky to see it all happening.
Cool.
And taking lots of pictures.
Yeah, she is now your model and everything. And if you've got any other questions, put them in the comments down below, because Zeno and I will be replying to any comments that anybody wants to leave. And you can check our Facebooks as well. But other than that, I think that's pretty much done. So thank you very much, Zeno, for your conversation. And sorry for everyone, you missed about a 45-minute segment of us going into far more depth about the cultural aspects of each city, of Glasgow being stylish and Edinburgh being cultural and all that kind of stuff. And also
both beautiful cities with their own flavour. You know, that I wouldn't say one was better than another. I know we've got a rivalry between Glasgow and Edinburgh, and it's fun. But I think both are beautiful cities in their own ways.
Absolutely.
I love Edinburgh. I love Glasgow.
And I love Edinburgh. So.
And just Edinburgh.
Yeah, no. Maybe I'm just jealous of Glasgow because both my sisters went to university in Glasgow and they loved it. I went to university in Edinburgh and I've just never really got into Glasgow. But everyone that I know, because I'm originally from Dundee, everyone I know that ever went to Glasgow all absolutely love Glasgow as well. So it's not a case of necessarily where you're from, but where you went to university or where you went to like a school. If you went to school in Glasgow, you love Glasgow. But yeah, I definitely agree that they're both pretty awesome cities. And Glasgow recently just holding the Commonwealth Games did a fantastic job there, and the atmosphere throughout all of Glasgow was fantastic. So I think it's a good place to be.
Yeah, both are.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much, Zeno, and thanks everyone for watching this video. And any questions, leave them down below. Cheers. Bye-bye.